Today I'm going to show you how I made this dash and bars bookbinding, which I just learned from Keith A. Smith's book on section sewings. I will link this book in the description if you want to check it out. I thought the binding looked simple enough, but there is kind of a confusing area in it if it's your first time trying this, but I did find it was easier once I practiced, and this tutorial is actually my second go at it. If you want to see me explore and share more bookbinding methods, consider becoming a patron or a member of this channel. You will get perks along with supporting my efforts to make more content, and I'll put that in the description below as well. Okay, let's start with the page and cover setup. For the pages, I'm using letter size paper, which I cut in half to make a smaller size, and divided them evenly to make 2 signatures. A signature usually consists of like 4 to 6 sheets, but it can vary depending on the thickness of your paper and your preference. So here I actually folded 8 sheets together to make 1 signature, and did that again to make 2. For the cover, I'm using this piece of vinyl cut to the same height as the signatures. You can also use paper or any fabric of your choice. And I'm leaving the width a little long because I'm going to cut it later after everything is all bound. Now, to figure out the binding holes, I find it easier to use a piece of grid paper so I can easily visualize what the pattern of stitching is going to look like and where all the holes should go. If you want to try out this template for yourself, I'll put it in the description as a free download. This is in inches, so if you don't work in that measurement, maybe I'll put something in millimeters also down there. I'm trimming out a piece of this graph paper so I can tape it onto the cover to use as a template. For this style of binding, I like to work in 1/2 inch increments, so I'm marking 1/2 inch points, making 2 rows for 2 signatures. And I'm using my binding guide to pierce those 1/2 inch holes through the signatures. Now for the cover, I'm using that grid paper as a template, and I drew out the pattern of stitching so I know what it's supposed to look like, and then holding that in place on the spine of the cover to pierce through those guides with an awl. And if the cover is too dark to see the holes, like mine, you can go back in and use a paint pen, a piece of chalk, or a white pencil so you can see where the needle should go. Now for the dash and bars bookbinding, I'm using waxed linen, single threaded on a binding needle. And to make the binding process a little easier, I think it helps to add a binding clip on the end of both signatures so that they stay together while I work. Start from the inside of the signature on one end and return out to the cover. Leaving a tail of thread on the inside so I can later tie that into a knot. And return through the other signature, making the first bar. Then return through the next hole back out, and going back to the original signature to make the second bar. Then back out through the next hole, and I'm going to go to the next one in that same signature, this time horizontal, to make the first dash. Then return back out through the following hole right next to that. But this time returning through the other signature to make a vertical bar. Here's where it gets a little strange, but stay with me. You're gonna go back in that signature to the hole behind the one you just went in to make that other horizontal dash. Then when you're back on the inside of the signature, you're going to skip over those 2 stitches to complete the rest of the bars and dashes. Returning through the other signature to make a vertical bar. And back out through the following hole to make a horizontal dash. And back out through the following hole. And this is where it repeats that kind of confusing bit that I just did. So I'm going to make a vertical bar to the other signature and back out through the hole behind that to complete the horizontal dash. And again, I'm going to skip over the 2 holes, which I already went through, to complete the last bar. Now the pattern is complete, but before I tie anything off, I like to go back to the threads and tidy anything up that is loose, put more tension on any parts of the thread that needs it, because sometimes it bunches up between the cover and the signatures. Then I tie any loose ends of the thread off in a knot on the stitch that's right next to the end of the thread. And since I left the width of the cover, I'm going to trim that off to the width of the page. I do like the simple pattern this method makes and the minimal amount of materials it requires. I don't need any glue, just thread, piece of cover, and pages. And just like a lot of bindings that are similar to this, saddle stitch, pamphlets, they can lay completely flat if you open them all the way. If you try out this binding method on any of your projects, I would love to see your pictures, so tag me and share those with me on social. And thank you again to my patrons and members for supporting this channel. If you want to check out more bindings in this style, I will link some in the description. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!